For Victims and Villains, my name is Josh, and today I am joined by my abyss gazing co-host and friend, Billy Tabor. Hello.
Hey guys, how everybody doing tonight?
We are here to talk about the reimagining of the 80s cult classic Street Trash, which you can stream for free, well, with a membership, via Screambox beginning next Friday, December 27th. So, Billy, tell us a little bit about what this movie's all about.
So, in layman's terms, basically, it's got kind of like a futuristic feel to it, but it's about how corporate is trying to get rid of the lesser people, like the bums from the street, and try to eradicate the people that are not on their level as far as economic wise, is the way I saw it.
Sure.
And they, I don't want to give too much away with it, but they use a couple of things that are kind of like futuristic to me that I wasn't expecting to see in this. So yeah, that's the layman's terms for me. If you want to explain it a little bit better.
Also, I will put this out into a preference that this is technically, I want to put this out there, little asterisk next to it. This is technically a sequel to the original film. So you do need to watch the original one. If you were like Billy and somehow had missed the OG, it is streaming on most free ad-based platforms like Tubi and Amazon Prime. So let's get into general thoughts of this movie. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Go ahead. You go first.
This movie feels like a missed opportunity. And I was really excited that director Ryan Kruger was attached to this because he is a Horrific Hope Film Festival alum. We've his first year we screened his short film Meow 2. It's a really great color, just amazing little short film that is all about, as the title says, is about kind of Me Too movement, and the importance of accountability and the balance of power. But it's told from the perspective of this world of humanoid cats. And so I was really excited to see his name kind of get to be on something as iconic as Street Trash. And this movie just kind of feels like a real big missed opportunity. That's kind of what I feel like it boils down to. I didn't love this movie. I didn't hate it, but I feel like this movie just has so much potential. It just left on the table.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like you said, I hadn't seen the original, so I watched them both. And the first one is got that real campy feel that you like, kind of like what was the movie we did a while back? I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's got that 80s campy feel where this one was trying to go to it, but didn't feel like it hit it. Like you said, it missed it. There was a lot on the table it could have done that maybe pull back the campy and make it a little bit more than what it was. So I'm with you. I it's in the middle. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
So I think for this one, for me personally, when you look at the first film in this, I don't want to call it a franchise because it's a short film, the actual film, and then this film. But when you look at the original 1987 movie, there is something there that is really, it's this blend of social commentary where it's kind of talking about how at the time we've kind of really undervalued our veterans, and also how we take issues with our homeless or lower class. So there's a lot of themes on classism that are very prevalent throughout. And I'll talk about those themes here in this new one, but there's this level of also there is this camp to it. There is this black comedy to it that is really works, and it kind of blends together. Now, that's not to say that the OG is without its faults. I think it's a very kind of jumbled mess by the end. It's very busy. There's not a whole lot of cohesion between the storylines that feels satisfying. And this one has that same kind of problem as well. This one I feel like is a little bit more streamlined, where instead of all of these other subplots, it's kind of essentially you have the big government essentially trying to eradicate the homeless problem and or uh, just people that are either in the middle or lower class that kind of can't, as you mentioned earlier, really live up to the expectations that the higher class or that the government have placed upon them. And subsequently, you also kind of watch the subplot of the hierarchy within the among the people that this society is essentially trying to eradicate. And I feel like for me, those two, they just feel kind of disjointed, and they feel like they never truly meet to kind of flesh out themselves.
Yeah, and going back, it was Toxic Avenger. I was trying to think of to compare
Mm.
the '80s one to the camp and all of that, but yeah, where it tries to eradicate the lower class and everything, it also has with that upper class, it's got that one guy that kind of has like the, I don't want to say presidential feel, but he's that guy that stands out that's trying to run everything. It's his way or no way. And with everything that's happened in the world recently, election, all that, that kind of stuck out to me. But yeah, most of the story is based on, like you said, dealing with the veterans and lower class where they're trying to eliminate them.
And there's also another subplot that I just want to mention that I think really allows for some comedic relief, and it has a probably the best payoff in this movie, and that's the Gary Green 2-bit storyline where he's kind of got the blue little Martian guy. I thought it felt really out of place at first, and it just kind of really fits into this world. It was probably one of my favorite elements in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, the whole time I was trying to figure out if everybody could see him or not, to be honest with you. It's got that kind of storyline to it to where you're guessing. It's almost like, a Family Guy thing to where can everybody hear Stewie or is it only certain people? Or it was that thought of who can see this guy and who can't.
Yeah, and I think this movie does, we've really hearkened on kind of how kind of disjointed this movie feels in certain parts, and how, like, it feels like a missed opportunity and all of the things that this film could be. I think looking at the things that really make this film really enjoyable, or you know I would also say are a lot of how the characters are developed in this core group of people that are led by Ronald and Chef. Like, I love the core cast of these characters that we meet within the kind of ragtag team of misfits throughout and when you kind of get to see them picked off one by one, I think it'll getting to know them really allows the emotion to kind of feel a lot more like a deep cut throughout the film.
Yeah, I mean that's was in the first one too, but it hit more with the ragtag ones on this one to where it like you said, it focused on that storyline more on this one and more of a streamlined story. So that really stood out on this movie.
That's because the characters also feel more developed, in my opinion, here than they do in the first one. Whereas in the first one, it just kind of felt like a lot of it existed for shock value. And when we're talking about shock value, I love how I love the color palette here, where the world kind of feels, as you said, very dystopian,
Mhm.
but it has a lot of these really muted colors. And when you have the practical effects after uh the kind of street trash, as we would call them, the mutations throughout the course of this, how that is offset by these very vibrant colors, the purples and the yellows and the pinks and the blues and the neons. Like, I just felt like a lot of the color palettes here, as well as the practical effects, really work here as well.
Yeah, and the fact that like I said, I'm not trying to give too much away with it, But with those color palettes, like you're mentioning, and the actual street trash, as they're calling it, the fact that it goes from the muted or the whatever to the brighter colors as the people are, as what's happening to them happens, that it kind of shows a different side of the story of maybe they're not as bad, which you're already on that side. They're not the bad people in this one. It's just, they're the lower class.
Yeah, and I really kind of enjoyed what they did with that stuff. I just felt like I really wish that they would have kind of dug their heels in a little bit deeper. But with that said, it's rating time. On the Rorschach rating scale, 0 to 5, where does Street Trash end for you?
Like I said, I'm pretty much in the middle. I'd give it like a 2.5, 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead at 2.5 as well. I think I'm really neutral on this story overall. I think it does do a lot of good things with its character development, but and its practical effects and its color palette, but it really does I think it really kind of fumbles the landing when it comes to its social commentary that it's trying to do, but also at the same time how it is essentially taking these two stories and essentially trying to converge them together when it just kind of feels like they ultimately just kind of miss one another altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. And like I said, the storyline and everything, I can forgive a little bit. But I went in after watching the first one wanting more of that camp. Like I said, even though it does have it, I felt like they could go lean a little bit more into it just because of the first one.
I feel like there's a part of this that definitely takes itself a little bit too seriously, and that's where I think the social commentary works really well. The sheer fact that this film kind of opens up the way that it does, it definitely tells you that this is going to be a more serious take on this.
Right.
I appreciate that, and I felt like it never quite recaptured that seriousness the further away that we got from that opening.
Yeah, like you said, it starts out serious, and I was hoping that it would kind of go away from it and go more towards comedic, even though I knew it was going to be a serious one.
Well, as we said previously, you guys can stream Street Trash 2024 beginning on December 27th on Screambox at screambox.com. If you guys are not signed up, we will provide links in the show notes below for you guys to sign up. I do believe they do free trials, but go check it out. And we're both part of Abyss Gazing that you can catch every freaking Wednesday at 6 p.m. wherever you guys, Eastern Standard Time, wherever you guys get your podcasts from. So until next time, stay classy.